It's spooky season, witches. As you can tell, I absolutely love all things Halloween, all things creepy in October. I've got my Billy head. I've got all my Sanderson witches out. I'm so excited for the season. You are going to see a lot of this Ghostface shirt because I spent like $35 on it at Spirit Halloween, and I'm going to wear it for every book review I am doing this month in October. So, hey, I am Stephanie. Welcome to Books and Bubbly. This is the playlist where I review books that I get all bubbly talking about, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. So, fair warning, there are going to be spoilers in this review. If you want a spoiler-free review, please check out my September reading room video where I do a non-spoiler review of what I thought of the book. But here we go. So this is actually my third St. James book, as I really loved the Sundown Motel, and I liked the Book of Cold Cases, and I really wanted to give her work another try, as I loved the haunted feeling of the Sundown Motel, and knew that this involved a haunting as well. But before we get into the review, let's talk about the inside cover copy, just to see what we're getting ourselves into. Vermont, 1950. There's a place for the girls whom no one wants. The troublemakers, the illegitimate, the too smart for their own good. It's called Idlewild Hall. And in the small town where it's located, there are rumors that the boarding school is haunted. 4 roommates bond over their whispered fears, their budding friendship blossoming, until one of them mysteriously disappears. Vermont, 2014. As much as she's tried, journalist Fiona Sheridan cannot stop revisiting the events surrounding her elder sister's death. 20 years ago, her body was found dumped in the overgrown fields near the ruins of Idlewild Hall. And though her sister's boyfriend was tried and convicted of the murder, Fiona can't shake the suspicion that something was never right about the case. When Fiona discovers that Idlewild Hall is being restored by an anonymous benefactor, she decides to write a story about it. But a shocking discovery during the renovations will link the loss of her sister to secrets that were meant to stay hidden in the past, and a voice that won't be silenced. So I really, really enjoyed this. I could barely put it down. Like, I would read it over my lunch break and then realize my lunch break probably ended 15 minutes ago. This story was so great. Like, both the timelines in this were really well plotted and had that running sense of what's going to happen. St. James really shines at writing atmosphere and ramping up the creepiness. Like, when I was reading the parts in the 1950s, I was just so immersed in the Gothic setting and could really feel what it was like to be at Idlewild Hall. I loved every single sighting of the ghost, Mary Hand, and her ability to bring people's fears or whatever was troubling them in their heart to life and surround that person with it. I was so ready for all the paranormal happenings and spooky sightings in this book. I also like that St. James can walk the line of multiple genres and pull them all together. Like, we've got a thriller, we've got a ghost story, and a murder mystery with some World War II history thrown in. Though I will say Sonia's murderer was a bit of a curveball. Like, it does make sense in the story, it really does. But it's also one of those things that it seems a little too convenient. Like, so Sonia's killer ends up being this woman named Rosa. Both of these women were in the same place at the same time, and Sonia was followed back to the school. Like, okay. I guess I expected the murder of Sonia to line up more with Deb's murder. Like, maybe there'd be a bit more parallel between those two stories. I guess somehow, which I know, like, it's spanning like 60, 70 years, so it was unlikely. But I guess I expected a little bit more of that. Again, it makes sense. It works within the story, the way it played out. I guess maybe I just expected a bit more. Though I do appreciate finding out that Sonia that it was Sonia who was deceased when they find a body. And then going back into the 1950s as we still see her living chapters, and just that sense of dread that you know something is about to happen to her, and like she's already going through it and having a tough time, and just having to sit there being like, so when does it happen? I do wish one plot point had gotten a better resolution or more clarification as to what was going on with Mary and Idlewild Hall. I said this in my September review, so now I can actually like talk about it since I've already warned you that there are obviously spoilers ahead in this review. But there's the scene when Fiona sees Deb at Idlewild Hall, and like Sonia's ghost is trying to help her, and like Mary's walking around, and then she goes into this room and Deb is there. How is Deb still there? And then throughout the entire book, there's a lot of repetition of, don't let Mary in. Let her in where? The building? Their heads? She's a ghost. She doesn't need permission to walk through walls. And then don't let her in. Like, what? Don't interact with, like, the stuff that she's making come to life around you? I really wanted to understand why everyone kept saying, don't let her in. Like, that's part of, like, her little lore. Again, let her in where? And then, how is Deb still there? Like, will she be able to move on? Or was that scene all in Fiona's head? I wanted to understand what would happen to Deb. Like, and is Mary finally at peace now that she'll get a proper burial with her baby? Is Sonia still there? Like, I need to know what happens to these ghosts and, like, what is going on there. I understand that they've already passed, but, like, okay, if you're gonna let Deb still be there and, like, crying and sad and, like, she knows what's happened to her, like, give me some, like, let me know that she moved on at least. Like, Mary got her baby back and got to go. Why can't Deb? So going back to things I loved the titular broken girls of the story. Like, each girl has a very distinct personality, and they were different, but still formed a really great bond and were so loyal to each other. The friendship was so endearing, and how they kind of formed their own little, like, found family when abandoned by their blood relations. They came together to support each other through living at Idlewild Hall, and loved each other for who they were, never making fun of another girl for what made her be deemed broken by society. It was really great to see strong bonds between the four girls, and St. James did a really good job with the characterization of the girls. I loved them. We'll say when Margaret is introduced in the 2014 storyline, so she's the woman who bought Idlewild Hall and is planning on restoring it, I knew she had to be one of the girls, as she knew too much about Idlewild Hall and its hauntings. I was surprised, this was a good twist, that it turned out to be Katie, and even more surprised that she ended up marrying Cece's half-brother. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised about it, because Katie's obviously very street smart and knew the odds of her coming into some money down the line or being able to work or find a job after the stigma of Idlewild Hall was going to be tough. So for her own survival, it was a power move seducing him, so I can't fault her for that. I was not expecting the twist that the other girls figured out who killed Sonia and may have contributed to the killer's departure from our world. I do wonder what would have happened, though, if they had taken Rosa, Sonia's killer, back to Idlewild Hall and either let, Mary have her way with her and scare her to death and use the pain that she'd caused so many other women against her, or even let Sonia's ghost get her own revenge. Granted, I don't think they ever knew that Sonia was still there. I think, obviously they knew her body was somewhere there, but maybe they didn't know that she was kind of doing her own haunting in a way. I also really liked Fiona as our main character, and she felt very real. Her pain was raw and enduring, as it would be losing a sister that way. Oh my god, I couldn't even imagine. Though I will say I couldn't fully understand why she didn't believe the case was closed. like I said in my September reading room, but we needed Fiona to be in place so the story would happen. I'll deal with it. I think Fiona was flawed, she's smart, she's dedicated. I really liked her complicated relationship with Jamie and how in the end they didn't really care what others thought, and I understood what brought these two together. I actually really liked their dynamic. I thought it worked. I said earlier that I think St. James plotted this well and did the reveals at the right time before switching timelines again. It was well crafted and made me need to keep reading until I finished this. The story is super suspenseful, foreboding, it's eerie, perfectly blends a murder mystery and a ghost story, and there are enough storylines to keep things balanced without losing focus. I rated this 4.5 stars out of 5 as I love the mystery, the atmosphere, the intriguing characters. After reading this, I went out and bought the Haunting of Maddie Clare by St. James, and I'm so excited to get into that. I have that on my October, I think it's this month's, to be read pile as The Haunting of Maddie Clare. Like, come on, it's like right up my alley for Halloween. I do also really want to check out her Silence for the Dead, as the cover is beautiful and I've seen it popping up all over Bookstagram, so want to give that one a try. But if you've read any other works by St. James, please let me know your recommendations in the comments below, or if there are other authors that are like her that do ghost stories and the paranormal really well. I am always looking for that. It doesn't even have to be October. I'll read that stuff in December and January. I'm always down for a good ghost story. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching Books and Bubbly, and be on the lookout for this shirt and all my other spooky decor and like my spooky little bone candles and all the stuff making its appearance, because I just spent like $430 at Spirit Halloween and all those things have to go somewhere. But again, thank you so much for checking out Books and Bubbly. If you haven't already, be sure to check out The Broken Girls, even though I've obviously kind of ruined it a little bit, but it's still such a great read. Definitely loved it. It's a book that gets me all bubbly. Thanks for watching. Things that I really did love. I loved the titular Broken Girls of the story. Like, oh Jesus,